Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to us if you could just scroll down, like, hit the subscribe button for the Snaps YouTube channel. It goes a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's dive into some college football.
All right, that leads me to the last school I want to talk about, and that's Florida. You obviously intimate with the university. Were there a long time as an OC and head coach, and kind of going through some unique times right now with Billy Napier. You know the fans, you know the expectations. Hell, I know that I grew up a Florida fan. I grew up there in Florida. Like, I understand you're the head coach of Florida. There are expectations to win, and Urban obviously set that bar really high, just a couple of decades ago. Can he get it done this year? And what does he need to hit, or what does he need to do to please that fan base?
Well, I think there's a couple aspects to it. I think the one thing that a lot of the Florida didn't realize is how far behind they were.
Yeah.
They had no football. They didn't have any football facilities. They were a couple of years ago. It was you had to walk across campus to get to a practice field. We measured it out. It was the kids were walking 3/4 of a mile just to go back and forth to practice. There were no meeting rooms. There were no medical recovery areas. They were just so far behind in the college football landscape with facilities and what players needed in development. And I think a lot of the answer was, hey, we didn't need that back in the 90s with Coach Spurrier. We didn't need it in the early 2000s when, Urban won, the 2 out of 3 national titles. Why do we need this 15 years later? Why do we need facilities? What does that do for anybody? And so part of the struggle was, when I was there on the back end of me, I know they just moved into the facility. So now when someone visits campus in recruiting, it's much easier, come in and, hey, here's our football facility. Hey, here's the chefs cooking meals. Here's food for your nutrition. Here's recovery areas for, here's the medical things for you to maximize yourself. Here's a premier strength and conditioning facility for the football team to get you bigger, faster, stronger. So you set NIL aside, which everybody thinks it's just NIL. There's still a lot of recruiting that goes on. So as a young guy comes to campus, says, okay, one, do you have what's in place to help me maximize to become the best player I can to achieve my goals of getting to the next level and going to the NFL? Florida finally has that in place. It's new. I used to, it wasn't a secret. Kids would leave other programs, come to visit us, and like, hey, take us to your hydrotherapy. Where's your cryotherapy recovery chambers? No, we don't have those. Hey, where's your practice field? Well, we got to kind of go. Well, my mom can't get there. You got to get a car, put her in a car. So we have to drive to practice here. How does that work? Hey, where's your meeting room areas? Well, they're underneath the stadium. You didn't have it. Where's our area? Where's our training table area? Well, we just have to go meals for you. We didn't have, there was nothing. So I think problem one is they got all that in place, and now all of a sudden that's all in place. Now they're looking at the same boosters to put the money in for that, saying, hey, we need all the NIL money now to pay for it. Like, we just gave you money to catch up. They're like, well, actually, everybody else had that already. We were far behind.
Yeah.
So I think they are in place. And I think one of the things that Florida has to do is find stability within the program. And, so you can say all you want. Let's put Billy Napier on the hot seat this year. Well, you're going back to not creating stability within the program. And that has been the issue to let it build, right? I think the one of the hard things that always any coach at Florida deals with is their fans like points.
Yeah.
They want to score. They want to score, right? They want to see points put up on the board. So if you're winning and scoring points, they're happy. Yeah. If you're winning and not scoring points, they have one negative thing to complain about, right? It's kind of winning, scoring points, they're complaining, losing score, like winning, not scoring, they're complaining about not scoring points, losing scoring, they're complaining that we lost. So it's they want kind of this complete total package. But I think if they can create stability within the program, if Billy Napier is the answer and everybody believes that long term, that he's the guy, well, then make sure in today's world, give him the time to go do that.
Yeah.
right?
Do you have to create the narrative out there too to help with that stability for recruiting, for boosters, for NIL? Because I do feel like that there is this narrative out there that Billy's on the hot seat if he doesn't get. I mean, we've all seen the schedule. The schedule sucks. The schedule's maybe the hardest schedule in all of college football this year. If he doesn't get to a bowl game or doesn't get the 7 wins, Billy's gone. To me, like, that's the narrative. And in today's world where social media and these high school kids or college kids see all that, it's hard to build stability and be able to build for next year when kids are waiting for him to get essentially his head chopped off.
Well, it is. And I think that's a recurring cycle, because if you're looking at it saying, okay, what coach has been given the time to build that program at the University of Florida?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really to go put the stamp on it. Mm-hmm. Now, the argument in today's college football world is, hey, it's a different world than it used to be, right? It is. And I always think this, right? And year one, it's a little bit exciting. It's new. Year two, it's some of the players that were there that stayed to buy in, have a chance. You know, in the older days. Year three, it's starting to become your team. But there's usually, and then I always think, you know, sometimes the 4 or 5, there's always going to be a year where you have the players that didn't, you know, your transition year, if you will, right? The players that didn't buy in and stick around for when you became the head coach, right? That have left, and you haven't built the multi-year recruiting foundation within your program. So whether that's year 3, 4, or 5, in that you're going to kind of have the tricky thing. Now you might have success, but there's going to be kind of that hiccup until it becomes the solid foundation, right? You look at Georgia. Kirby, early on, there were questions.
Yeah.
Right? Had good, little bad, good, and then got to the point where now there's stability. Nick Saban, even everybody early on, there's kind of these, it can be good early, then there's a little drop, and then there's the long-term stability. Now, in today's college football, everybody gets answer one, because there's so much social media, there's so much scrutiny, and you have really the ability to take ownership of the team faster, because you can come and say, you know, a la Colorado, you're all gone, I have a new team. And, you know, that team is immediately mine. I still think it takes into several more years, right? And you look at who are the successful programs over the last however many years, right? I go back to my days at Mississippi State. We built a long-term successful program at Mississippi State. Well, they didn't have a quick trigger. Kentucky. Well, but, you know, Mark Stoops, you know, it took several years, right?
But like those places, the difference of there's not like this expectation though
to create. They gave
you get more time.
Let's go create what we are and who we are.
Yep.
And I think, but even Georgia, I think, had patience. There was a stretch, you know, from the time you played in the SEC. I might be off on this one, but the time you played in the SEC championship. When you were the quarterback, to getting back to going to back-to-back SEC, right? You know, there was a long term where they needed to go back, re-identify themselves, create a new identity, build a foundation that has now been built. And I think, you know, Florida be probably best served to try to do something like that. You know, and if it's not Billy Napier, who is it going to be that you're going to sit there and say we're done, we're all in, this is going to be a long-term deal?